For anyone with a strong baseline of morals regarding your family, in regards to your own family's privacy, respect for their personal opinions, their own freedoms, their own personalities in general. Actually, scratch the whole philosophical diatribe essay introduction that I started with. If you respect your own family members as, actual people who are the main characters of their own story and don't exist solely for your own existence, Ruby Frank will be Exhibit A for everything your own personal morals stand against. Okay, look, I'd put family channels in general under this whole umbrella, especially since a rather sad and worrying number of kids are having their own lives broadcasted and edited by their parents, just so their parents can be rich, can become social media influencers, and have a whole gaggle of people who look up to them. Like, imagine having every single little milestone in your life filmed and put straight up on the internet for your parents to make a quick buck off of. Imagine your entire personal life becoming a stupid sitcom. Like, imagine if one day your grades finally came back and your parents just literally shoved a camera into your face to record your reaction. And even if your reaction was genuine, imagine if your parents told you, it was the wrong reaction. Even your own human instincts are somehow wrong and not monetizable. Okay, enough about that. Again, more essays from me. But, okay, look, family channels are the worst channels on YouTube. End of. Sure, we got some dickheads like Maximilian Musk, but Maximilian Musk is just his own kind of content creator. Every single family channel is morally wrong. It's child slavery. Even child stars like Drew Barrymore didn't have, their entire report cards filmed and shoved into the faces of the internet when she was growing up. And honestly, being a child star in Hollywood is bad enough. Rambling again. Anyways, I'm just going to go back to Ruby Frank, because Ruby Frank is the most egregious example of, these family channels gone completely wrong. So a bit of a backstory. Ruby Frank was the mum of the channel 8 Passengers. They're a family based in Utah. We're heavily tied with the Mormon Church. I'm not against Christian parenting, or pretty much even religious parenting in general. I kind of am, but I'm kind of not really. If we've got a good, education system based on the actual teachings of Jesus, then, hey, if it's good, it's good, No need to spoil a good thing. But you see, a lot of these family vloggers are Mormon in general. I think it's pretty much because every Mormon wife is pretty much a stay-at-home wife, especially in Utah and Idaho. And the mother is pretty much free to do whatever she wants in the household, since she's there 24/7. Finding time to organise, how to set up cameras, how to edit, when to film, becomes a non-issue if you just stay at home all day. That and Mormon culture is heavily centered around the family. It's the church first and the family second. So all Mormon content is centered around the church first, and then the family Mormon channels are pretty much second to any kind of official content the Mormon church puts out. Now, what happens if a Mormon family channel is run by the most insane narcissist of all time? You get the cautionary tale of 8 Passengers and Ruby Frank. Now, Ruby Frank, much like her husband, was pretty much born and raised in the Mormon Church. So becoming the matriarch of a Mormon household was pretty much ingrained into her from day one. Many, many years before she even hit puberty, motherhood was the one thing she was expected to do, and was the one thing she was expected to be this natural Mormon-bred expert in. And if Ruby Frank is ever wrong about Mormon parenting, well, in the insane, narcissistic, Ruby Frank-centered world of Ruby Frank, it's a false dichotomy, because being a mother was the one thing she was naturally born to do. So if you criticize her questionable parenting choices of having her entire kids' lives documented, filmed, and uploaded for the internet to see, you criticize Ruby Frank, the person, and every stupid little thing that she stands for, whether you even know it or not. In Ruby Frank's world, you are evil and immoral for even daring to criticize her. Her children were basically slaves to her stupid little influencing career. And if you start mistreating the dog you feed, you shouldn't be surprised when the dog bites back. Or, more importantly in this case, the whole 6 dogs you're feeding, ganging up on you all at once. One look at any random video on the 8 Passengers channel shows that Ruby Frank is not all about, happy vibes and households filled with love and friendship and puppies and kittens as presents every day. Ruby Frank bills herself as a true, God-fearing, Book of Mormon reading type of parent, where her parenting is just filled with truth, nothing but the truth. And those stupid little things she does where she steals her daughter's towels and rubs her all over herself, that is nothing but the truth. And of course, everything Ruby Frank does and says is the truth, the secret truth that all these liberal elites are trying to hide from her and her family. And any stupid thought that comes to her head is the truth. No nuance, none of this pesky useless stuff like parenting through actions and not words, and all this other meta-community stuff that just takes way too long to do. Probably the most obvious example of Ruby's stupid and clearly misguided is when she sent her son Chad to some kind of Christian-focused behavioral correction camp. These sorts of camps are targeted exclusively at religious parents and present themselves as some kind of wilderness survival camp where your children will be taught things like building a stronger mentality in rough situations, appreciation for the natural world, but it's mostly as a way to put your kids through such a shitty situation. They're supposed to make them feel more appreciative of the life they have at home, because these are wilderness survival camps at their core, and wilderness survival camps are no fun when you're just out in the open and having to live off, canned food. No internet, no access to technology, no access to air conditioning, friends, all run by idiots who live off like 6-figure salaries and can easily be spotted chugging down a bottle of Grey Goose if you sneak into the little Gucci cabin late at night. The only official qualifications these people have to run these sorts of behavioral correctional survival camps is they're Christian. Did they study survival training? Did they study psychology? Did they study biology? No, of course not, because higher education is a liberal scam designed to convert your kids into Jews. So the only person you need to run these sorts of camps is a strong Christian-minded person who probably started off their career as an insurance adjuster or some kind of completely unrelated job prior to them founding this sort of Christian survival camp. Now, what did Chad Frank do to be sent to this mystery Christian survival camp? Surprisingly enough, nobody knows. Despite Ruby Frank's willingness to film their own children in their bedrooms or on the fucking toilet, no one had ever heard of or seen any of Chad's supposed behavioural problems. Frank just plays it off as Chad going through a rough, rebellious period in his teenage life, and for once in her Mormon-trained career of motherhood, she didn't know what to do. She obviously wanted Chad to appreciate her running the household and to never question anything she ever does. And the best way to do that? Just send Chad off to some random Christian camp with questionable safety standards and questionable everything, so that Chad will know that no matter about how life may be in the Frank household, they won't at least be as bad as the time when the Frank household literally sent him off to survival camp. Ruby, in her act of filming her entire family's life and putting it up on YouTube for free for everyone to see, and her general shitty attitude towards even her own kids, has caught up with her and her husband Kevin since, one, the 8 Passengers YouTube channel hasn't been touched since, January 3rd, 2022, which is a year and a bit to this day, and I doubt it's ever going to be touched again. And of course, all the comments have been turned off. And most importantly, the second reason, Shari Frank, their eldest daughter, has publicly stated on Instagram that she's no longer in any contact with Ruby, and Kevin for that matter. The moment she turned 18 and went to college, she just cut Ruby out of her life. And for the whole 8 Passengers brand of tough love and respect and building a perfect, successful family from scratch, the true Mormon way. Clearly, with Shari cutting off all contact with her family, something obviously didn't work with the whole 8 Passengers family experiment of rubies. I mean, Shari's been on camera ever since she was 12, and from her to have her entire life documented from 12 to 18, you can't really claim that her leaving her own family is not her fault, because she was supposed to be the #1 example of Ruby's superior parenting instincts and skills. So now that 8 Passengers is well and truly done, and the oldest daughter has completely cut off all contact from the Franke family, what has Ruby been doing to forge a new career? If you guessed another online project centered around parenting, you're damn well right. But no points for you, because it's obvious that Ruby isn't going to let her pride be taken without a fight. Enter this thing called ConneXions, with an X. Honestly, the name and logo sounds more like a bullshit natural remedy thing that claims to cure your everything and AIDS. But if there was a Venn diagram that showed old fans of 8 Passengers and people who buy bullshit natural remedies literally off of Facebook because they've heard the words all natural and cures cancer on it, yes, every single cancer in existence, it wouldn't really be a diagram as such, more so just a picture of a circle. So hey, I'll give Ruby and her team points for branding because it hits all the points of woman parenting Facebook group. But ignoring the soothing, all-natural branding of ConneXions, you're left with a parenting blog run by a parent who has a 60-year-long documented history of being a bad parent. Okay, so I did a bit more research before I say my next thing, and ConneXions was actually started in 2013. It's just that for some strange reason, they made Ruby Franke join on board. And this was after the whole 8 Passengers thing blew up in Ruby's face, and she became the poster child of the internet of family channels and just why they're so morally bankrupt in the first place. But I guess there's no such thing as bad press, right? Well, just looking at ConneXions, the YouTube page, the views aren't really coming in anymore. It's definitely not 8 Passengers in their heyday level of views. So ConneXions has this video series called Mums of Truth. Truth is just a buzzword to Jody and Ruby. Jody being the main founder of ConneXions. Because if Ruby stuck by the principles of truth, she'd use herself as an example of how not to be a parent. Any video of Ruby that contains the word principles, parenting, truth is getting pretty massively dislike bombed, considering the 34k views and the 32 comments at the time of recording this video. I imagine that a lot of the comments are being deleted, but I'm personally just thankful for the return YouTube dislike little Google Chrome toolbar extension. But however, ConneXions is a business at our core, and the YouTube channel is just more of an afterthought. So I decided to take a look at the website of ConneXions to see what they're all about. So Jody is the whole founder of the whole ConneXions thing. It says here she has a master's in science, which is from educational psychology. I've never taken a course on educational psychology, or hell, I've never taken a course on psychology for that matter. And she used to work at a drug rehabilitation facility somewhere in Utah. So Jody's resume on paper seems pretty good. It seems that after her tenure at the drug rehabilitation thing, and things get pretty damn sketchy. I've been looking at ConneXions' main page, their YouTube page, their Facebook page, and their Instagram page, just to get a clear understanding of what their business is about. On their main page, ConneXions is billed as a different type of healing that psychotherapy cannot do. What's so different about it? Well, the website doesn't tell me. As far as the whole basis goes for Jody's alternative spiritual healing goes, I don't know. I've been trying to look at their website, but I can't find a damn thing. That's always a good sign of a business, whether a simple blurb of what the business is about, how it makes profits, what it does, or what its goals are in the future is nowhere to be found. That's a surefire sign that the business owner is clearly just winging it, basing their entire operations of just whatever she feels like doing, or it might even be a front to give to the IRS agents some sort of explanation as to how she ended up with $1 billion mysteriously. Okay, ConneXions Facebook says here, helping you create joy in your real life and in your relationships. That's a little different from what's being said on the main website. Is it now training? I thought it was just help and spirituality. Okay, here's the Instagram page. Learn how to successfully navigate life and relationships. Seems pretty similar to the Facebook pages. There's some consistency there, but there's absolutely no consistency between the main blurb and what's being posted to the Instagram, which is just usual parenting related stuff. Not much about Christian spirituality or your own life. And basically nothing on the business seminars that ConneXions supposedly do. Oh yeah, one last thing I forgot to mention about the main website of ConneXions. They also host business seminars to help your business. What these seminars actually consist of, I don't know. The FAQ focuses on parenting. So this whole life coach spirituality thing, being able to teach anyone anything is kind of useless, since it's the parenting advice that mostly seems to get the clicks. Oh, there's actually one more website. It's Jodie's personal website. Okay, never mind. It's not Jodie's personal. It's actually an expose website dedicated to bringing more awareness around her shady practices and her cult-like following that she's gathered through ConneXions, and her cult-like leadership mentality. The reviews listed here are anonymous, but if these are all fake reviews, there are sure a fuck ton of these fake reviews. If Jodie wants to claim these are bots, then how did she, a simple Mormon life coach, convince someone to make 1,000 supposed fake bots review bombing her business, trying to discredit her? Oh yeah, this little expose website pretty much confirms every suspicion I had of her, where everything she says is the truth, and she's the only one who can get other people to see the truth. And anyone who doesn't take Jodie's beliefs as the truth are living in a distorted reality. You know, when I was researching Jodie, I made a little mental connection. Every single little criticism I have about Jodie, her controlling nature, her blatant narcissism, her building a life off of Mormon Christian parenting, refusal to take no for an answer even when faced with legal repercussions, and for her living in her own little world where everything she thinks and says is the truth, and everyone who says or thinks different is completely wrong, and un-Mormon-like, and un-Christian life, and is probably influenced by the devil or something. Now, who does this sound like? It's the same bloody things I used to describe Ruby Franke. And for how long ConneXions has been around, and for how long A Passengers has been around, ConneXions has been around for a couple of years longer. It's got me thinking, was Ruby Franke influenced by ConneXions? ConneXions has been described as this cult-like sort of life coach and parenting coach type of business. That's very heavy on discipline, very heavy on Christianity and spirituality, and raising your kids the old-fashioned way and not letting them become these TikTok Gen Z degenerates with their millions of genders and their privacy and their lives outside of the household. I had a look back at some of the old A Passengers videos, and while the habits of filming your child doing embarrassing things for clickbait do show up, they're definitely more lighthearted and relaxed stuff like, you know, Happy Easter, shooting darts at each other, you know, genuinely relaxing, happy family sort of stuff. None of this melodramatic, we almost died, kid ran away, kid is turning into Satan sort of thing that A Passengers became down the line. Now, ConneXions has a reputation for tearing families apart, and it's got me thinking, with just how quickly Ruby jumped ship from A Passengers to ConneXions, maybe she had a connection to ConneXions before A Passengers shut down. Maybe Ruby was influenced directly by Jodie. Maybe the whole stupidly strict no presents for anyone, do as I say, bow down to my every word because I'm just magnificent style of parenting came directly from ConneXions. Was Ruby brainwashed by Jodie too? It's a possibility. And with the fact that she worked for ConneXions the moment that her family pretty much just cut off all contact with her, she really seems to be deep into the whole ConneXions will tell you the truth and stop you from living in a distorted reality cult-like bullshit. Well, I wish Jodie and Ruby all the best. If you're going to hire someone who has no contact with any of their family to run your family-centered social media business, you're going to need all the luck you can get. P.S. Fuck the Mormon Church.